The giant metal doors slid open with a hiss. Ambassador Catherine Lewis took a deep breath and stepped into the Galactic Council chamber. The room was massive, with high ceilings that seemed to reach into space itself. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in curved rows that rose up like a bowl. Each alien looked different. Some had scales, others had too many eyes, and a few seemed to float above their seats. Catherine smoothed her blue uniform and tried to look confident. Behind her, Major Daniel Wright adjusted his collar nervously. The air in the room felt heavier than Earth's, and the strange smells made it hard to focus. "They've been talking for 3 hours," Catherine whispered to Daniel. "That can't be good." At the center of the chamber stood High Arbiter Zex Talon. The alien was tall and thin with 6 arms and a face that reminded Catherine of an insect. The Arbiter raised 2 of his arms, and the room grew quiet. "The Council recognizes Earth's representatives," Zex Talon said through a translator box that gave his voice a metallic sound. "We have looked at your request to join our Galactic Council as full members." Catherine stepped forward. Earth had waited 50 years for this moment. Since aliens first visited Earth, humans had worked hard to prove they belonged among the stars. They built ships, learned alien languages, and followed all the rules. Now they would finally be accepted. However, the Arbiter continued, his mouth parts clicking quickly. "We face an unusual problem. The war between the Viridians and the Axoni has grown worse. Many star systems have been destroyed." In the middle of the room, a large display lit up. It showed a map of the galaxy with red and blue areas that seemed to be spreading. "Earth sits at an important location," explained Zex Talon. "Your request comes at a difficult time." Catherine looked at Daniel. This wasn't the simple yes they had expected. "Difficult how?" she asked. The room went quiet before the Arbiter answered. "We have reports about your people, your fighting abilities, your history of wars, how quickly you've learned to use our technology." The Arbiter's voice got softer. "We must ask as politely as possible, would Earth agree to stay out of the current war?" Daniel stepped forward. "I think my government expected that membership would include helping each other if attacked." The room filled with alien whispers and strange noises as their translator devices tried to keep up. Catherine noticed something unexpected in how they reacted. They were afraid. "Perhaps," said a Medusan representative rising up on what looked like smoke tentacles, "the ambassador doesn't understand. We are not asking Earth to protect us. We are politely asking Earth to stay out of the fighting completely." Catherine blinked in surprise. "You're afraid of what would happen if we joined?" "The Viridians and Axoni have been fighting for 80 years, Zex Talon explained carefully. "Your people have only had space travel for 50. Yet how quickly you adapt to war is unlike anything we've seen. We've studied your history. World wars, Cold Wars, small conflicts. Your people treat war like an art." The display changed to show Earth ships. The designs already used alien technology in ways that surprised the Council races. "We're offering full membership," the Arbiter continued, "with one condition. Earth must promise to stay neutral in the current war." Catherine's training hadn't prepared her for this. Most new species had to prove they were good enough to join the Council. Earth, it seemed, had to prove it could hold back. "I'll need to discuss this with my government," she said finally. "Of course," replied Zex Talon. "We await your answer." As they left the chamber, Daniel leaned close to Catherine. "Did that really just happen? Did they just say they're scared of us?" "It appears so," Catherine replied, her mind racing. 50 years trying to show them we're peaceful, and they're terrified of what we might do in their war." Back on their ship, Catherine called President Elaine Morgan immediately. The president's face appeared on the screen, looking tired after being woken in the middle of the night. "Madam President, the meeting didn't go as expected," Catherine began. She explained everything that had happened. The president listened carefully. "So they want us as members, but only if we promise not to fight?" "Yes. They've been studying our military history. They think we're dangerous." President Morgan was quiet for a moment. "Perhaps we are. What do you recommend, Ambassador? Catherine thought carefully. This changes everything we thought about our place in the galaxy. They don't see us as weak newcomers. They see us as a sleeping giant. I think we should use this. How? Accept their terms, but negotiate for better trade deals, more technology access. If they're this worried about us joining the war, they'll pay to keep us neutral. Daniel, who had been listening, spoke up. There's another angle, Madam President. If both sides in this war are afraid of human involvement, we have leverage with both of them. We could potentially broker peace deals. The President nodded slowly. A path to making Earth essential to galactic politics without firing a shot. I like it. She looked directly at Catherine. Tell the Council we need 3 days to consider their offer. In the meantime, I'll speak with the military advisors about our options. As the call ended, Catherine walked to the viewing window of their ship. The massive Nexus station hung in space before her, home to the Galactic Council. Hundreds of alien ships moved around it like fish in a pond. 50 years, she said quietly. 50 years we've been trying to prove we're their equals. And it turns out they already think we're more dangerous than they are. Daniel joined her at the window. What do you think will happen? I think, Catherine said slowly, that the galaxy just changed. They don't want Earth's friendship. They want Earth's restraint. And that gives us power we never expected to have. She turned to him with a small smile. The most interesting thing about fear, Major Wright, is how useful it can be. Earth wanted a seat at the table. Instead, we might just end up at the head of it. Below them, the council chambers glowed with soft light. Inside, 200 alien species were discussing the same thing: what to do about the humans and how to keep them from joining a war that had lasted nearly a century. A war that might end very differently if Earth decided to take sides. President Elaine Morgan stood at the large window in the Oval Office. Outside, 3 alien ships hovered above the Washington Diplomatic Center. Their smooth, curved shapes looked out of place against the clear blue sky. The sun was just coming up, painting the ships with golden light. They're afraid of us, she said, keeping her eyes on the ships. After all our work to show them we come in peace. Behind her, 4 people sat around the big table. They had been talking all night, and empty coffee cups covered the table. Secretary of Defense Alan Perkins cleared his throat. Madam President, their fear makes sense. Our military has been quick to learn alien technology. The Helios ships we built used shield designs we got from the Medusans, but we made them work better than the aliens did. Admiral Gregory Palmer nodded. The Jupiter defense platform has more firepower than some council members' entire fleets. We built it to protect Earth, but they don't see it that way. So what do we do? Asked the President, turning from the window. Accept membership with the promise not to fight, or say no and stay outside their club? Foreign Secretary Olivia Hayes pushed a tablet across the table. The war between the Viridians and Exoni has already killed 12 billion people across 14 star systems. Both sides have done terrible things. The Axoni bomb entire planets. The Viridians use biological weapons. And neither side has asked for our help, added Secretary Perkins. No, said Admiral Palmer. But the Taurans have. Everyone looked at him. The Tauran Collective sent a secret message directly to Fleet Command, Palmer explained. They're not in the war yet, but 3 of their outer colonies are in the path of the Viridians. They're asking if we would consider a separate defense agreement. President Morgan walked back to her desk, looking worried. The Council specifically asked us not to get involved. The Council asked us not to join the war, corrected Secretary Hayes. A defense agreement with the Taurans wouldn't break that promise technically. It would certainly break the spirit of their request, the President replied. They're clearly terrified of humans fighting on any side. Admiral Palmer leaned forward. Madam President, our analysis shows neither the Viridians nor the Axoni can actually attack Earth directly. Their supply lines would be too long. But the Taurans share our values more than any other council race. Can we really watch while their colonies are destroyed? President Morgan looked down at the reports. Death predictions, battle plans, diplomatic advice. Earth had wanted galactic membership for 50 years. Now they were being offered membership, but at the cost of watching billions more die. Get me the Tauran ambassador, she finally said, and tell the council we need 2 days to think about their offer." When the others had left, the president called Ambassador Catherine Lewis on the secure line. "The situation is complicated," she told Catherine. "The Taurans have asked for our help. If we say yes to the council's terms, we abandon allies who need us." Catherine's face on the screen looked thoughtful. "What if we found a middle path? Accept the council's terms officially, but find ways to help the Taurans that don't technically break our promise?" "What did you have in mind?" "Military advisors, technology sharing, training programs. We wouldn't be fighting directly, but we could help the Taurans defend themselves." The president smiled slowly. "I like it. The council gets what they asked for. Earth doesn't join the war. The Taurans get help. And Earth shows everyone we can be creative in how we use our power." "It's a risky game," Catherine warned. "If the council feels tricked, it could hurt our standing." "True. But if we do nothing, we betray our values and our friends." The president tapped her fingers on the desk. "Set up a meeting with the council. I'll talk to the Tauran ambassador this afternoon." Later that day, the alien ambassador stood in the Oval Office. The Tauran was tall and thin, with a hard outer shell that looked like amber. Its forearms moved in quick, nervous patterns, and its large eyes blinked rapidly. "Ambassador Kirnax, thank you for coming," the president said. "I understand your people are in danger." 3 of our colony worlds are directly in the path of the Viridian fleet," the Tauran said, its translator box giving the words a musical quality. "We expect attacks within 30 days. Our defenses cannot stop them alone. The Galactic Council has asked Earth to remain neutral in this war," the president explained. "We're considering accepting those terms." The Tauran's eyes dimmed slightly. "I understand your people must do what is best for Earth. However," the president continued, "neutrality has many interpretations. While we cannot join the fighting directly, we could provide other forms of assistance." The Tauran's eyes brightened. "What kind of assistance?" "Military advisors. Defense. Technology. Training for your forces. And perhaps some of our ships could conduct exercises near your colonies. For training purposes only, of course." "Of course," the Tauran said, understanding immediately. "Training exercises that happen to take place where the Viridians plan to attack." "Exactly. We would not be breaking our promise to stay neutral. After all, we wouldn't fire first. But if the Viridians attacked during our exercises, you would defend yourselves," finished Kirnax. "And if that defense happened to protect our colonies—" "A fortunate coincidence," said the president with a smile. "Would this arrangement be acceptable to your government?" "More than acceptable," the Tauran replied, its body relaxing visibly. "My people will be relieved. We had feared Earth would abandon us to satisfy the Council. Earth doesn't abandon its friends, Ambassador. We just find creative ways to help them." After the Tauran left, President Morgan called an emergency meeting with her military advisors. Admiral Palmer arrived first, looking pleased when she explained the plan. "It's a fine line we're walking," he said, "but I think we can make it work. I'll have Fleet Command prepare a training mission. The 3rd Fleet is closest to Tauran space, 30 ships under Captain Jason Kelly." "Will it be enough?" the president asked. "Against the Viridians?" "More than enough. Our technology is newer and our tactics will surprise them. They've been fighting the same way for 80 years. They've forgotten how to adapt." As others arrived, for the meeting, Secretary Hayes pulled the president aside. "I've spoken with Ambassador Lewis. She'll inform the council tomorrow that Earth accepts their terms. We'll be officially neutral in the Viridian-Axoni conflict." "Good," said the president. "And unofficially?" Hayes smiled. "Unofficially, the Earth Defense Force is about to begin the largest training exercise in our history, right on the edge of Tauran space. Pure coincidence, of course." "Of course," the president agreed. "And if the Viridians happen to attack during these exercises, then the galaxy will learn what happens when you attack ships from Earth, even by accident." The president nodded slowly. Earth had found its path, Not directly into war, but not standing idly by either. They would keep their promise to the Council while still protecting those who needed help. And in doing so, they would show the galaxy exactly what humans were capable of. "Send the orders," she told Admiral Palmer. "The Third Fleet leaves for Tehran space immediately. Let's show the galaxy how Earth handles bullies." Fleet Captain Jason Kelly stood at the large window on his ship, the EDS Frontier. The stars looked different here, far from Earth. His ship had just jumped through space to reach the edge of the Proxima Tauran system. Around his ship, 30 other Earth vessels appeared like ghosts against the darkness of space. They all ran silent with their engines turned low. "Status report," he said into his small wrist communicator. "All ships present and accounted for, Captain," replied Commander Susan White from the bridge. "Stealth systems working perfectly. The Tauran defense fleet is waiting where they said they would be." Kelly nodded, even though no one could see him. Earth had made its choice. They had told the Galactic Council they would stay neutral and not join the war. But they had also made a separate deal with the Taurans. Earth would send defense advisors and technology experts to help. What this really meant was that the Third Fleet was now positioned to protect Proxima Tauran from the expected Viridian attack. They called it a training exercise to keep their promise to the Council. "Captain," came Susan's voice again, "Tauran Admiral Koleth wants to meet with you to finish planning the defense." 20 minutes later, Kelly sat in a meeting room with the Tauran military leaders. The insect-like aliens clicked and chirped nervously as they looked at Earth's defense plan on a large display. "This cannot be right," said Admiral Koleth, his many eyes blinking quickly at the glowing map. "You've put your strongest ships behind the moon. They would be useless when the fighting starts." Kelly smiled slightly. "The Viridians always attack. The same way. They'll send their biggest ships first with swarms of fighters. They expect you to commit all your forces immediately." "Yes," agreed Koleth. "That is how space battles are fought." "It's predictable," Kelly corrected. "We're going to let them think they've broken through your defenses. Your ships will pretend to retreat in disorder. When they send in their second wave and troop carriers, we spring the trap." The Tauran commanders looked at each other with concern. "You want to sacrifice our outer defense line?" one asked. "No sacrifice," Kelly explained. "Your ships will take only minor damage before the strategic retreat. The Viridians will think it's fear and poor discipline. They'll push forward faster than planned, stretching beyond their support range." "And then?" Kelly touched the display, highlighting where Earth ships were hiding. "Then we hit them from 6 directions at once. Their command systems can't process that many threats that quickly. While they're still trying to understand what's happening, we drive straight through their center with our heaviest weapons." Koleth's antennae twitched. "This is not normal warfare." "No," agreed Kelly. "It's human warfare. We call it a feint and counterattack. It's been used in Earth battles for thousands of years." "Your species has been fighting wars for thousands of years?" asked another Tauran, mouth parts clicking in alarm. "Longer," Kelly said simply. "The Viridians fight to rule. The Exoni fight to destroy. Humans fight to win, using whatever methods work. We study our enemies, learn their patterns, and use their expectations against them." He stood looking at each alien commander. "The Council didn't want us in this war because they know what happens when humans commit to battle. In 2 days, the Viridians are going to find out." Back on the bridge of the frontier, Kelly looked at the detailed scans of the approaching Viridian fleet. They were right on schedule, just as Earth intelligence had predicted. "They have no idea we're here," said Commander White, looking at her screen. "Their sensors are focused on the Tauran defense line." "Good," Kelly replied. "Status of our new weapons? The gravity disruptors are charged and ready. The Taurans have never seen anything like them." Kelly nodded with satisfaction. The gravity disruptors were new technology, developed by Earth scientists based on alien science. They could create small, temporary black holes that would pull ships off course and disrupt their formations. The Council races had shared the basic science, but humans had taken it further than any alien race had thought possible. "The Viridians are launching their first attack wave," reported the sensor officer. 5 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, and approximately 200 fighter craft. Right on schedule, Kelly said. Signal the Tauran fleet. Begin the planned defense. Remember, make it look good, but don't take unnecessary risks. On the main screen, they watched as the Tauran ships engaged the Viridian fleet. The insect-like ships were fast but lightly armed. They darted in, fired quick shots, and pulled back. The larger Viridian ships, crystal structures that glowed with internal energy, pushed forward steadily. After 20 minutes of fighting, the Tauran admiral sent the agreed signal. Their ships began to retreat, appearing to be in disarray. Several ships fired wildly, missing their targets by wide margins, a carefully planned show to convince the Viridians they were winning easily. Viridian command ship is signaling their fleet, said the communications officer. They're calling in the second wave. Troop transports are moving up. Kelly smiled. The Viridians were following the human plan perfectly. Prepare all ships, gravity disruptors to full power. When the second wave is fully committed, execute attack pattern Thermopylae. The bridge crew worked quickly, sending coded messages to the rest of the fleet. Earth's ships remained hidden, waiting for the perfect moment. On the screen, the Viridian second wave moved forward, eager to finish what looked like an easy victory. Their formation spread out as they pushed deeper into the system. Behind them, their support ships struggled to keep up. They've reached the trigger point, Commander White announced. All ships report ready. Kelly took a deep breath. This was the moment that would change how the galaxy saw humans forever. Execute now. Across the Proxima Tauran system, 30 Earth ships powered up at once. They emerged from hiding places behind moons, within asteroid fields, and from the shadow of the system's gas giant. The gravity disruptors fired, creating dozens of small distortion fields throughout the Viridian fleet. Viridian ships suddenly lurched sideways as space itself warped around them. Some collided with each other, their crystal hulls shattering on impact. Others spun helplessly, their engines unable to compensate for the changing gravity. In the confusion, Earth's ships attacked from 6 directions simultaneously, firing precisely at the weak points of Viridian ships that human analysts had identified from old battle records. The Viridians are trying to regroup, reported the tactical officer. Their communication system is overloaded with distress signals. Press the advantage, ordered Kelly. All ships, execute the hammer and anvil maneuver. The Earth ships moved, with perfect coordination, something the Viridians had never seen before. Half the fleet drove directly through the center of the enemy formation, while the other half cut off their retreat. The Tauran ships, seeing the plan working, rejoined the battle with renewed confidence. Within an hour, it was over. The Viridian attack fleet was in ruins, with most ships destroyed or disabled. The few that could still fly were retreating at full speed. Signal from Tauran High Command, said the communications officer. Admiral Kolith sends his deepest thanks and says, the galaxy will never be the same after today. Kelly looked at the tactical display, showing the complete victory they had achieved. He's right about that. Send word to Earth. The training exercise was a complete success. As the message went out, Kelly knew that across the galaxy, the news would spread quickly. The species that the Council feared might join the war had just demonstrated why that fear was well-founded. And they had done it without officially breaking their promise of neutrality. Human warfare had come to the stars, and nothing would ever be the same again. High Arbiter Zex Talon stared at the glowing display in the Council's strategic assessment chamber. His insect-like mouth parts clicked rapidly as he watched the data coming in from Proxima Tauran. This cannot be right, he whispered to his assistant. Check these reports again. I have checked 3 times, Arbiter, the assistant replied. The Viridian attack fleet has been destroyed. At least 80% of their ships are gone. The rest are running away. Around the large room, representatives from 200 alien species watched in shocked silence as the battle replay showed how the Viridians had been defeated. The human ships had used moves no council race had ever tried, using the gravity of moons to sling themselves around at impossible angles, venting reactor plasma to create fake signals on enemy sensors, and coordinating their attacks with perfect timing. They were supposed to stay neutral, hissed the Viridian ambassador, his crystal body flashing with angry colors. "This is a direct violation of Earth's membership agreement." "Technically," said the Medusan representative, its smoke-like tentacles twisting nervously, "Earth did not join the war. These were military advisors operating under Tauran authority. A clever trick, certainly, but within the exact wording of the agreement." "It was just one battle," the Arbiter said, trying to stay calm. "Perhaps this will be all of it." His assistant leaned closer. "New information, Arbiter. The Axoni have pulled back forces from 3 disputed systems. They seem to be gathering their fleet. They fear the humans will help the Viridians next," realized Zex Talon. "More concerning," continued the assistant, 17 systems that were staying neutral have sent messages to Earth in the last 12 hours. The council chamber erupted in alarmed conversation as everyone understood what this meant. The balance of power that had existed for hundreds of years was changing. Earth hadn't just won a battle. They had shown a completely different way of fighting that no one had expected. In another part of the station, Ambassador Catherine Lewis received the council's urgent request for a meeting with a knowing smile. She had spent the morning fielding requests for alliances, technology sharing agreements, and defense pacts from alien species who had barely noticed Earth a week earlier. "Tell the Arbiter I'll be there soon," she told her assistant Nicole Foster. "And get me a secure line to the President." When the connection to Earth was established, President Morgan appeared on the screen, looking both pleased and concerned. "The Council is panicking," Catherine reported, "just as we thought they would. And the other requests? Coming in fast. Everyone suddenly wants human protection. The Galari are offering exclusive mining rights to their neutronium deposits. The Kalans want to share defense technology." The President nodded slowly. "Keep them all waiting. No promises until we see how the Council responds. What about the humanitarian situation?" "The Viridians have pulled back from 3 Tauran worlds. They were preparing to attack," Catherine said. "Refugee ships are moving safely now. And the Axoni have offered to discuss exchanging prisoners, something they've refused for 30 years. So without officially entering the war," the President began. "We've already changed its direction," Catherine finished. "But this is just the beginning. The real question is what happens next." "What does your diplomatic instinct tell you?" Catherine thought for a moment. "They're going to try to control us. New restrictions, technology embargoes, anything to slow Earth's influence. They're more afraid now than before." "Good," said the President firmly. "Fear can lead to respect, and respect is what Earth has been seeking all along." When Catherine entered the council chamber, all eyes turned to her. The Arbiter stood at the center, looking very formal. "Ambassador Lewis," he began, "the council has called this emergency session to address the recent incident in the Proxima Tauran system." "Yes, the training exercise," Catherine replied calmly. "I understand it was quite successful." "Training exercise?" The Viridian ambassador's crystal body flashed with anger patterns. "Your ships destroyed 80% of our attack fleet." Catherine maintained her diplomatic smile. "I believe the official report states that Viridian forces fired upon ships engaged in peaceful exercises. The Earth vessels defended themselves, as is their right under galactic law." "A convenient fiction," hissed the Viridian. "This was a planned military operation." "Perhaps," suggested Catherine, "the Viridian Empire should be more careful about where it sends its war fleets. Accidents can happen when you invade peaceful systems." The chamber went quiet. No one had ever spoken to the Viridians this way before. "The fact remains," said the Arbiter, trying to regain control of the meeting, "that Earth agreed to remain neutral in the conflict between the Viridians and Axoni." "And we have," Catherine insisted. "We have not joined either side in the war. We simply helped a friend defend itself, which is not prohibited by our agreement." "These word games are beneath you," said the Axoni representative from inside his special breathing chamber. "You have effectively shown that any side with human military support gains immediate advantage. Now everyone wants your help, creating a new arms race." "With respect," Catherine replied, Earth didn't start this war. We've been watching for 50 years while the Council failed to stop the fighting. Now that we've shown an effective defense approach, suddenly there's concern. The Arbiter's antennae twitched in agitation. The Council is concerned about the broader implications. Already the balance of power is shifting. 17 neutral systems have reached out to Earth. The Exoni have withdrawn from contested areas. The Viridians have cancelled planned operations. Those sound like positive developments, Catherine noted. Fewer people will die. But at what cost? Asked the Arbiter. A new power rising in the galaxy using military might to reshape alliances overnight. Catherine stood straighter. Earth did not seek this role. You asked us not to enter the war formally, and we haven't. But you cannot ask us to stand by while innocent people are killed. The Taurans asked for our help, and we gave it. If that demonstration of friendship has caused others to reconsider their positions, perhaps that is for the best. You've started something that cannot be easily stopped, warned the Arbiter. The Council fears where this path leads. The Council has feared Earth from the beginning, Catherine said quietly. But perhaps now that fear can lead to peace rather than more fighting. As she left the chamber, Catherine knew the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. Earth had shown just a small part of what humans could do, and already alliances were shifting, battles were being cancelled, and peace talks were beginning. The President had been right. By demonstrating their power while technically keeping their promise, Earth had found a way to reshape the war without officially joining it. And this was just the beginning. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never been so full. Representatives from all 219 member species were present, along with observers from 43 non-aligned worlds. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Catherine Lewis and Major Daniel Wright facing the 7-member High Council. 3 weeks had passed since the battle at Proxima Tauran. In that time, the galaxy had changed more than in the previous 50 years. The news of how Earth ships had defeated the Viridian fleet had spread everywhere. The situation has become impossible to manage, stated Arbiter Zex's Talon, his normally calm voice filled with urgency. In just 3 weeks, the strategic balance of the galaxy has shifted dramatically. The large display showed a map of the galaxy with colored areas showing alliance changes and fleet movements. The Viridian Exoni conflict zones had changed shape significantly, with both sides pulling back to defensive positions. 17 separate ceasefire agreements have been established, noted the Arbiter. Systems that have been fighting for decades are suddenly seeking diplomatic solutions. Isn't that a good thing? Catherine asked innocently. The Viridian representative rose, his crystal body glittering under the chamber lights. It is good only if one ignores the reason. These ceasefires are not born of true reconciliation but fear. Fear that their enemies might get human military support first. I thought peace was the Council's main goal, countered Catherine. By your own reports, civilian deaths have dropped 90% in affected systems. Peace through fear is not true peace, insisted the Arbiter. And we have serious concerns about what happens next. The display changed, showing 36 Earth vessels currently positioned across the galaxy as observers and advisors to various species. Though few in number, their strategic placement created a clear pattern of influence. Earth has not broken the neutrality agreement, Catherine stated firmly. We have not joined the war. We have merely responded to requests for defensive advice from sovereign systems. A technicality, hissed the Exoni representative from within his breathing chamber. You have effectively shown that any side with human military support gains immediate advantage. Now everyone wants your support, creating a new arms race. For the first time, Major Wright spoke up. With respect, Earth didn't start this war. We've been observers for 50 years while the Council failed to contain the conflict. Now that we've shown an effective approach to defense, suddenly there's concern. The chamber fell silent before the Arbiter continued in a more measured tone. Ambassador Lewis, Major Wright, the Council has called this special session to make a formal request. Catherine straightened. We're listening. We ask that Earth use its unique position to broker a comprehensive peace settlement between all parties in the Viridian Exoni conflict. Catherine couldn't hide her surprise. You want us to mediate? Earth has demonstrated its military capabilities sufficiently that all sides now recognize you as a power that cannot be ignored, the Medusan representative explained, vapor tendrils forming complex patterns. But you have not committed fully to any faction. You occupy a unique diplomatic position. And if we succeed? Asked Catherine carefully. The 7 High Council members exchanged glances before the Arbiter answered. Earth would be granted a permanent seat on the High Council itself, full access to all galactic technologies, and recognition as a senior species with all associated privileges. The chamber erupted in murmurs and translator noise. Such an offer to a species so new to galactic society was unheard of. Catherine maintained her diplomatic composure, though inside she felt a surge of satisfaction. This had been Earth's strategy all along. Show just enough military power to frighten everyone, but not enough to be seen as an existential threat. I will convey your request to my government, she said formally, but I believe Earth would be honored to serve as peace broker. As they left the chamber, Major Wright leaned close to whisper, So that's it? We scared them into giving us exactly what we wanted? Catherine smiled slightly. Humans have always been good at 2 things, Major. Fighting wars and ending them. The Council just realized they need both those skills. Later that day, in her private communication with President Morgan, Catherine reported the Council's plea with measured optimism. They're still terrified of us, she concluded, but now they're channeling that fear into diplomacy rather than opposition. Perfect, replied the President. Begin the peace process immediately. Make it clear Earth's military capabilities remain available should the peace fail, but emphasize our commitment to stability. And the High Council seat? Asked Catherine. Accept it with appropriate humility, the President instructed, but make sure they understand this is just the beginning of Earth's role in galactic affairs. 2 days later, Catherine stood in the center of a new, smaller chamber. Around her sat representatives from the Viridians, the Axoni, and 12 other species involved in the war. Earth had insisted on a neutral location for the peace talks, a previously abandoned space station at the edge of the conflict zone. Welcome to the first Galactic Peace Conference, Catherine began. Earth is honored to serve as mediator in these historic negotiations. On screens around the room, feeds showed Earth ships positioned at strategic points throughout the former war zone. Their presence was not subtle, a reminder of what would happen if the peace talks failed. We will begin with humanitarian concerns, Catherine continued. The immediate exchange of prisoners and the establishment of safe corridors for refugee transports. The Viridian representative clicked his translator on. The Viridian Empire feels this is premature. We should first establish— Perhaps I wasn't clear, Catherine interrupted gently. Earth is not suggesting these measures. Earth is insisting on them. The suffering of innocent civilians ends today, regardless of what else we accomplish here. The room went silent. No one had ever spoken to the Viridians or Axani this way before. If any party objects, added Major Wright from his position by the wall, I'm sure Captain Kelly would be happy to conduct another training exercise near your homeworlds. The threat was clear, but unspoken. Earth's military power now hung over the proceedings like a shadow. We accept the humanitarian measures, the Viridian representative said finally. As do we, added the Axoni. Catherine nodded with satisfaction. Excellent. Now we can move forward. By the end of these talks, we will have a framework for lasting peace. Earth will accept nothing less. As the negotiations began in earnest, Catherine thought about how drastically things had changed. The council that had begged Earth not to join the war was now begging them to help end it. And in doing so, they had given humans exactly what they had wanted all along. Not just a seat at the table, but the power to reshape the galaxy's future. Earth had arrived late to the galactic community, but they had quickly become its most important member. Not through overwhelming military might, but through the strategic use of force and diplomacy. The species that had once feared humans were now counting on them, and Earth would not let them down.